Hello and welcome back, and we are witnessing some really interesting stuff here in the NBA. So we're gonna get right into it. The Nova boys, our Villanova squad, is back in town. Mikal Bridges traded to the New York Knicks, and how good it feels to have all these guys back on the same team. So let's break it down. These are the details of the trade. Uh, you know, big, big deal. No doubt about it. Big deal. Mikal Bridges on a 2-year contract, pretty cheap for his services, and not really impactful to the cap at all. But you know, a lot of picks going in Brooklyn's direction, and we'll get into it later. But Brooklyn also moved to acquire some of their missing picks back, so this signals a full rebuild for the team, which you know is pretty interesting. And they do have a lot of assets to get it done. I will say, if they proceed to get all their picks back eventually, they really didn't give up all that much for the Harden, Irving, Durant trio, and here we see that they're now reaping the rewards of the Durant trade, which they received a lot of picks in initially, and they're getting even more here. They're getting everything you see, as well as another first round pick and an unprotected pick swap. For New York, I feel like this is also really good. I feel like the picks don't matter when you're contending. Obviously, it could go south really quick, but I don't think it will. So the Knicks finished the season 50 and 32, and that earned them the second seed in the East. They defeated the Sixers in 6 games in the first round. However, were defeated by the Pacers in the next round. They did have some injuries. Anunoby really didn't play all that much, and the team was just really banged up. Julius Randle didn't even play in the playoffs, so we might be talking about them differently, but here they are, and they're still a very exciting team. Brunson got injured at the very end, but you know, a lot to go for the Knicks. How dangerous can the Knicks become? Well, I've been preaching this for a while now. I've been saying Bridges to the Knicks, complete the Villanova boys, and look, we finally got it. Becomes a top defensive team in the league. They're already a top defensive team in the league. Tibbs always runs a stellar defense, and Bridges is a guy who has never missed a game in his career. We got fingers crossed that he stays like that. But just thinking about the potential for this lineups where you know great defenders like Anunoby and Bridges will be sharing the floor, and that's going to be a lot of time should those guys stay healthy. So I'm really excited. Added a runner-up defensive player of the year, and the team was second in defensive rating last season. We're not witnessing one of the best defensive teams in the league. We might be witnessing potentially one of the best defensive teams in years, in decades even. And I'm really excited for it. New look Knicks. We got Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Randall, and Mitchell Robinson. It seems unlikely that they'll be able to bring Hartenstein back, so we factored that into the equation here. I just feel like too much money between him and Anunoby. Anunoby looks like he's going to request a lot of money for his services, despite not playing a lot. Should they bring back Hartenstein, this team is easily the second best in the East and probably a top 5 in the league. And then the bench, too. Really steady guys off the bench in McBride, DiVincenzo, and Hart. We saw Hart start a lot. Just an all-around ball player. They got Precious Achua. They got to re-sign. Re-sign him if you don't get Hartenstein back. And Sims, I recently saw that his name was floated. Andre Drummond's name was floated for this team as well. Does this team beat the Celtics? Well, they sure stack up better than a lot of teams. I'll say that. Drew Holiday. I feel like the matchup for him is probably Brunson here, but going down, I feel like it's a little more mismatched. I think Randall will be White's assignment, and I just feel like Bridges and Anunoby will be able to get Brown and Tatum. Robinson's obviously not as good as Porzingis, but I think the Knicks have a real edge on defense, and I think they have a real edge in their bench play as well. So should these teams face, I think that the Knicks will be probably the hardest team by far in the East, bearing like the Sixers getting Paul George and adding a bunch of guys. I think the Knicks are going to be the biggest threat to the Celtics repeating this season.
All right, so now we're going to shift over to the rumors surrounding Kevin Durant. Obviously, in the last couple of days, we've seen that Kevin Durant has been involved in some trade talks. A slight possibility he's traded on draft night, but super unlikely. Would be a shock to the NBA world if he does. Obviously, the NBA draft coming up tonight. But news from around the league has shown that the Rockets have an interest in him. So we're just going to explore, how that would work and where he would fit on this current Houston Rockets team. So first of all, let's take a look into Kevin Durant's history. Of course, he was drafted by the Supersonics in 2007-2008, where he averaged 20.3 points in one season there. Then the Supersonics rebranded to the Oklahoma City Thunder, where he stayed for 8 seasons, averaging 28.1 points in his career there, really solidifying his place as an amazing scorer in the game's history. Of course, he went to the Warriors, where he famously teamed up with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. There, he averaged 25.8 points in 3 seasons. He completed one of the best fives we've ever seen, including Curry, Klay, himself, Draymond, and Boogie Cousins. One of the best starting fives that the basketball history has ever seen. From the Warriors, he went to the Nets, where he averaged 28.8 points in 2.5 seasons. And he remains with the Suns as of right now, where he has averaged 26.6 points in 1.5 seasons with the team. Next, let's take a look at his accolades. He's a 14-time All-Star from 2010 to 2019, got hurt in the 2019-2020 season, or in the 2018-2019 season, I believe. And then from 2020 to 2024, he was also an All-Star. He's a 2-time NBA champion, of course, with the Golden State Warriors. He made the All-Rookie team in 2007-2008. Of course, he would make the All-Rookie team, considering he won the Rookie of the Year. He's also a 2-time All-Star Game MVP, and in the championships that he won, he also won Finals MVP. He's a 4-time scoring champ, really helping his case that some people believe he is the best scorer of all time. He made All-NBA 11 times. He's a 1-time league MVP, and he made the NBA 75th anniversary team. So let's take a look at why the Rockets are making a run for him. The Rockets were out of the playoffs last year, but they're a relatively young team, and many people believe that they can make a push at some playoff runs in the near future. So why are the Rockets going for Kevin Durant? He'd be a veteran to add to a young team. He can mentor very many players. The explosive play style of Jalen Green, coupled with KD's prolific scoring, can really provide an offense that's really scary for defenses to play against. This Rockets team, however, ranked 20th in offensive ranking. So adding what some people say is the best scorer of all time, and most likely a top 5 scorer of all time, to your 20th ranked offensive team really solves an issue that your team has. Playoff experience. This team is not really known for a lot of players making the playoffs. Dylan Brooks probably making the playoffs the most off the top of my head on anybody on that team. But playoff experience, KD's got a lot of it. And, of course, he's the instant first option for this team. And, yeah, he makes this team instantly better. I'm not sure about a championship team exactly, but he's at least bringing this team to a 5 seed, I believe, if he gets to this team. So here's one of the trade proposals that we used, courtesy of Fanspo Trade Machine. In this trade, we, of course, have the Rockets getting Kevin Durant, and in return, the Suns gain Dylan Brooks, Steven Adams, Jabari Smith Jr., and Tari Eason. Some young pieces there to gain. An older piece might be one of the disadvantages here for the Rockets, but now they are more competitive in a Western Conference. That's a very competitive conference. And in a second, we're going to take a look at this really competitive starting 5 that I believe can make a push into a deep playoff run in this very competitive Western Conference. And here we are. So the new look Rockets here. So we have the point guard Fred VanVleet, former Raptor. He's a champion. So I would say he probably has more playoff experience than Dylan Brooks, being a champion himself on the Kawhi Leonard-led Raptors. So Fred VanVleet at the starting point guard position. He's been there for 1 or 2 years, I believe. And the shooting guard is Jalen Green, very explosive on offense. He can give you a random 40-point night if you want. You know what I mean? The small forward, will be Kevin Durant, of course, the new number 1 option on the team. And those first 3 very competitive. Power forward, probably the weakest position in this starting lineup. Jeff Green, former Celtic. He's very old. He's a veteran. He's got experience. Putting that in the starting lineup could be very good for guys like Jalen Green. And then, of course, the center, Alperen Sengun, who took a major jump this year and he shows no signs of stopping. He could really be an amazing player for this Rockets team.